Hi guys, Brand here, and welcome to another commentary video. Today, I wanted to talk about why I fell out of playing the Singularity personally, because when he first came out, I thought he was a pretty fun killer to play. I definitely don't dislike facing him in any stretch of the imagination. And in terms of playing him, I kind of just over time, just dropped him from my rotation. Usually I have a good rotation of killers that I go to pretty frequently to play every time I stream, which happens over at twitch.tv/TheMrHeadache if you want to hang out. Yeah, usually I have a firm rotation of killers that I play. I try to play most of the roster, but obviously there's a handful that kind of get left by the wayside because, there are just too many killers in the game at this point. And when Singularity first came out for that first week or two, I did play him a fair bit, but I've noticed I've played him less and less, and now he's just not even in my rotation anymore. And I'm sure this is something you've noticed because a lot of people have commented both on Twitter, YouTube, and many different stream spaces that they don't really see the Singularity that often, despite being the brand new character. And I'm going to tell you my personal reasons why I don't play the killer and see if that kind of lines up with other people's experiences. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. So the reason that I don't particularly like playing the Singularity, it's interesting because at first, like I said, I didn't really notice that I was not enjoying him because I was playing him a lot, and then bit by bit I played him less and a little bit less and a little bit less until he just wasn't somebody that I willingly picked ever for any reason. And I think I've boiled it down to the fact that this character has a lot of setup. He's not really a trap killer, for example, like somebody like Trapper or Hag or something like that. He's not a setup killer like that, or I even consider Oni a setup killer because you have to, spread a lot of blood on the map and get blood and stuff like that. He's a big setup killer. But usually what makes setup killers like Oni rewarding is that once you do all that setup, and you've probably lost a gen or two at this point, or maybe just one, you get into your power, and your power's super awesome. Your power's super great, and it's super hype, and it's super fun to use. So just there's some sort of big payoff for all that setup time that you took setting all your cams up to try and set something cool going. And with him, I'm not saying he's a bad killer. I'm not saying he's a bad killer. As a matter of fact, I think he's mid-low B tier, which is not bad. That's not too shabby. That's not too shabby at all. But I think all of that setup just to become a B tier killer, just to be a B minus killer, that's kind of underwhelming. That's kind of underwhelming, right? To set up all your cams, to slipstream everybody, to enter this kind of pseudo Myers tier 3 mode that he has with his overclock. That's a lot of setup just to be kind of average, right? That's a lot of work just to be kind of average. And I rightfully so, I don't think a lot of killer mains like the idea of setting up so much just to be average. Just to be average. And now there's going to probably be somebody in the comments that points this out, and I did plan for this because I did want to explain this specifically as well, is well, Bran, one of your main characters is Hillbilly, who is a, mid to low B tier, and requires a ton of skill, probably one of the highest skill ceilings in the game for a character, and an absurd amount of stuff you have to learn and perform correctly in order to get the most out of this killer. And even then, you're only a B or B minus at most killer. And I see that coming, and I see where you're coming from when you say that. But at least with Hillbilly, there's kind of that rewarding feeling of what I did was really, really cool. What I did was really, really exciting, and it was really rewarding. There are no better feelings in the game than when somebody is trying to hug a loop at a far side, and I trick them with a little mind game, and I curve down the loop and I smack them. Because not every player can do that, right? Not every player can do that. It took me a lot of training and a lot of time and investment in order to get to a point where I was even capable of doing that. And even in the moment where that opportunity presents itself to make that play is still hard to pull off. Mechanically, it is a mechanically demanding play to pull off. So the sense of going for something risky, something that takes a lot of precision, and successfully pulling it off is inherently rewarding. It feels good and it feels cool. I don't think that the Singularity really has anything like this, because even though you do all this setup, you do all the cam setups and all this stuff, and you slipstream the survivors and all that, you, like I said in comparison, you kind of just become like a la tier 3 Myers sort of thing. You're not really doing anything skillful when you teleport to a survivor and just spirit theory through the pallet and then punch him, right, with his little claw. You're not doing anything mechanically rewarding there. Like it didn't take any skill to do that. You just like waited till they dropped the pallet, pew-pewed across the pallet, destroyed the pallet, and then hit them, right? There was nothing like super skillful. It wasn't mechanically demanding. It didn't take a lot of training to learn how to do that. There's kind of like no like reward there as for somebody like Killbilly, where at least what you did was hype. At least what you did was exciting or difficult. With him, it's just kind of like you're doing very, very bare basic stuff, but it took a lot of setup to get there. And it just kind of like he unfortunately falls in this zone, I feel like, that a lot of killers fall into. Is like, why would I play him when I just have access to so many other killers that, like, obviously, like Oni I brought up, like, if you like a setup killer and you actually want the setup to result in an extremely cool power that's actually super helpful and actually, you know, skillfully, like, precision-based and rewarding, you have Oni. You can just play Oni, right? Although if you like the area control that his camera has, you can kind of just play, like, you know, please don't do this, but like play Skull Merchant or something, or another area control killer like that. Like, he isn't the best of anything. He's kind of just like this weird mishmash of a bunch of other killers. And like, he's got a very complicated base kit, so you can't play him because he's simple. And you don't play him because he's the best at anything, right? Because there's every aspect of his kit is done better by a different killer. And you don't play him because he's mechanically rewarding, because he's actually mechanically very simple. So it's like he kind of just doesn't really have an identity, I feel like. I feel like that's what I've been trying to reach this whole video, and I'm glad I finally hit to that point. I feel like if I could describe it in any particular way, it's like it doesn't feel like Singularity really has an identity. He really doesn't stand out at all. He's just like a mishmash of like different killer powers, but he doesn't excel at any of them. So he just kind of ends up in this weird, like, you know, literally, like, you know, like I said, low B, like, tier zone of just being, like, kind of like the middest killer in the game, where it's like, yeah, he does exist, but, like, you can probably find a killer that's more fun or more rewarding somewhere else based on what you like that his character does. So I feel like that's why a lot of people didn't end up, like, taking to Larry, and that's why I personally don't play Larry that much anymore. It's because I just don't enjoy all that setup just so I can be like a very mechanically unrewarding B tier killer when I can just, you know, go play somebody else. So yeah, what do you guys feel about Singularity? Why do you think that a lot of people don't play him anymore? Let me know down in the comments below. But other than that, it's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, friends. But I do upload daily, so I will see you tomorrow. But if I do not, I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.